In the vast, unforgiving theatre of World War II, there are stories of bravery, there are stories of luck, and then there are stories that simply defy the laws of physics. This is not just a story about a dogfight. It is a story about a mathematical impossibility. Picture this. It is December 13th, 1943. You are sitting in the cockpit of a P-40 Warhawk, a fighter plane that critics back home are already calling obsolete. You are 23 years old, you are alone, and emerging from the morning haze, heading straight for you, is not one, not two, but 64 enemy aircraft. Most pilots would turn back, most pilots would call for reinforcements and wait. It is the logical thing to do, it is the sane thing to do. But Second Lieutenant Philip Adair did not turn back. Instead, he shoved his throttle forward and flew straight into the swarm. What happened over the next 20 minutes would not only rewrite the manual on aerial combat, but would force Adair to do something so counterintuitive, so terrifying, that even today modern pilots struggle to believe it actually worked. He didn't just fight an entire Japanese air raid by himself. To survive, he had to fly his dying plane upside down. 9:27 a.m., northeast India. The air over the Assam Valley is thick, humid, and deceptive. To the naked eye, the sky looks empty, a vast canvas of blue stretching over the jungle canopy. Second Lieutenant Philip Adair is on a routine patrol. His aircraft, a Curtiss P-40 Warhawk nicknamed Lulu Bell, hums with the steady, rhythmic vibration of its Allison V-17N engine. Adair is a member of the 89th Fighter Squadron, part of the legendary 80th Fighter Group, known to history as the Burma Banshees. Their job is critical, dangerous, and exhausting, protecting the hump. For those unfamiliar with the geography of 1943, the hump was the lifeline of the Allied war effort in China. It was an aerial bridge over the Himalayas, a treacherous route where unarmed transport planes ferried fuel, ammunition, and medical supplies to Chiang Kai-shek's forces. If the hump closed, China could fall. And if China fell, millions of Japanese troops would be freed up to fight the Americans in the Pacific. The defense of this lifeline rested on airstrips like the one Adair was circling. Denjan Airfield. Below him, Denjan looks peaceful. Rows of C-47 transport planes sit heavy on the tarmac, their bellies full of high-octane aviation fuel and explosives, waiting to take off. Near them, a field hospital is tending to 63 wounded soldiers. It is a powder keg. One well-placed bomb, one strafing run, and the entire airfield will vanish in a fireball visible from space. Adair checks his instruments. Everything is in the green. He pulls Lulu Bell into a lazy climbing turn, scanning the horizon. He has flown 43 combat missions. He knows what to look for, but nothing prepares a pilot for the moment the empty sky suddenly becomes crowded. 3 miles east. Through the morning mist they appear. At first they are just specks, like a swarm of gnats against the sun, but they grow larger with terrifying speed. Adair blinks, refocusing his eyes, trying to make sense of the shapes. Mitsubishi Kai-21, Sally bombers, heavy, twin-engine beasts capable of carrying over 2,000 pounds of ordnance. They are flying in tight formation, a discipline that screams lethal intent, and they are not alone. Swarming around the bombers above and below is a protective screen of Nakajima Ki-43, Oscars. The Oscar is the Japanese Army's answer to the Zero. It is lightweight, nimble, and deadly. In a turning fight, it can outmaneuver almost anything the Allies can put in the air. Adair does a quick mental count. 24 bombers, approximately 40 fighters, 64 aircraft. He looks at his own wing. There is no wingman, no friendly silhouette flying formation, just the jungle below and the enemy ahead. The math is catastrophic. 1 P-40 Warhawk, 6 50 caliber machine guns, only enough ammunition for about 12 to 15 seconds of sustained fire. Against 64 enemy planes, the nearest backup is at Jorhat Base, 38 minutes away. By the time they arrive, Denjan Airfield will be a crater. The C-47s will be burning wrecks. The wounded in the hospital, they don't stand a chance. Adair's heart must be pounding against his ribs, but his hands are steady. He has a choice. Standard doctrine, the rulebook drilled into every cadet, says you do not engage when outnumbered 5-1. The odds here are 64-1. He could radio the warning, shadow the formation from a safe distance, and guide the reinforcements in. No one would blame him. He would survive the war. But Philip Adair looks down at the airfield. He thinks of the men on the ground who have no idea that death is 3 minutes away. He checks his fuel gauge. Full internal tanks, 180 gallons, about 90 minutes of fight time. He checks his guns. Charged and ready, he pushes the throttle forward. The Allison engine roars, the manifold pressure climbing to 54 inches. The P-40 surges, accelerating to 320 miles per hour. Adair isn't running away. He is climbing. He is positioning himself 4,000 feet above the enemy formation, using the sun as a shield. He is going to attack. The element of surprise is a pilot's most precious commodity. Adair knows the Japanese pilots aren't looking for him. They are focused on the target ahead, scanning the airfield, checking their bomb sites. They expect resistance over the target, not 20 miles out. They certainly don't expect a single lonely fighter to initiate a head-on assault. Adair's plan is desperate but calculated. He cannot shoot them all down. That's impossible. But if he can hit the lead bombers, if he can create enough chaos, he might force them to break formation. Bombers are like a phalanx. They rely on tight spacing for mutual defense. If he can shatter that cohesion, their bombing accuracy will plummet. He is the wrench thrown into a perfectly oiled machine. Adair rolls inverted, pulling the nose of the P-40 down into a screaming dive. He is coming from their 7 o'clock high position. Gravity is now his ally. The airspeed indicator winds up. 340. 360 miles per hour. The wind noise over the canopy becomes a howl. The lead formation of Sally bombers is right in his crosshairs. 6 aircraft arranged in 2 perfect V-shapes. They look huge in his gun sight, 800 yards. Still out of range for accurate fire, but he needs to close the distance fast. 700 yards, 600. The Japanese crews still haven't seen him. They are flying straight and level, unaware that a solitary American is hurtling towards them like a meteor. At range, Adair squeezes the trigger. Brat-tat-tat-tat-tat, 6. Browning 50 caliber machine guns erupt simultaneously. Tracers streak through the air, arcing towards the lead bomber. The heavy rounds slam into the Sally's left wing. Fabric shreds. Aluminum tears. The impact is visceral. Sparks dance across the bomber's fuselage. Suddenly, the bomber's port engine vomits orange flame. Thick black smoke pours from the cowling, trailing behind like a dark ribbon in the clear sky. Panic, the lead bomber lurches. The formation so disciplined a second ago shatters. Pilots bank left and right instinctively to avoid the burning plane and the incoming fire. The tight V dissolves into chaos. Adair has done it. He has disrupted the lead element. But now, the element of surprise is gone. He pulls back hard on the stick. 7 Gs of force crush him into his seat. His vision grays at the edges as he fights to pull out of the dive and roll right. He has to clear the area before the Kabul. Escort fighters react, but the hornet's nest has been kicked. Above him, the Oscar pilots see the tracers. They see the smoke. and they see the lone P-40 pulling up. Like a hive mind, 40 Nakajima Ki-43s turn their attention to the single intruder. This is where the P-40 Warhawk shows its age. It is a heavy, rugged brawler, built like a tank. The Oscar is a samurai sword, light, sharp, and fast. An Oscar can turn inside a P-40's radius all day long. If Adair tries to turn and fight, he's a dead man. His only advantage is speed and diving ability. Never turn with a Zero, never turn with an Oscar. That is the mantra, hit and run. But Adair has a problem. He can't run. If he extends away to reset his attack, which takes time, the bombers will reform. They will regroup, fly to Denjan, and drop their payloads. To save the airfield, Adair has to stay in the fight. He has to stay in the kill zone. He has to break every rule in the book. The sky is now filled with angry metal. 4 Oscars detach from the high cover and dive on him. They come in a finger 4 formation, disciplined and aggressive. Adair sees them at his 10 o'clock high. He rolls left, snatching a snapshot burst at the lead fighter. A 2-second spray of lead. Missed. The Founder's 50 calibers fly high. The Oscar breaks right, its wingman sticking to it like glue. Adair reverses his turn, diving to keep his speed up. Speed is life. 2 more Oscars drop from above, their 7.7mm machine guns winking. He sees them at 400 yards. He pulls into a climbing left turn, a dangerous move, and fires again. Nothing, no hits. He glances at his ammo counter. 800 rounds remaining. That's seconds of fighting left. Just seconds. And behind the screen of fighters, the bombers are trying to fix the mess Adair created. The Sallies are closing back up. 3 groups of 6 are reforming. They are stubborn. They are professionals. They know they have a job to do. Adair realizes he has perhaps 90 seconds before they reach the bomb release point. He disregards the fighters on his tail. He shoves the throttle to the stop, past the safety gate, into war emergency power. The engine screams in protest, but he forces the P-40 back towards the bombers. 8 Oscars are now chasing him. 8. He dives. The P-40 is a heavy sled. It dives beautifully. The speedometer hits 405 miles per hour. The lightweight Oscars, with their fabric-covered control surfaces, start to stiffen up at high speeds. They can't follow him down that fast. Adair opens a gap. He levels out at bomber altitude, lining up on the right-hand formation of Sally's, range 300 yards. Perfect. He holds the trigger down. The tracers converge on the lead bomber's right engine. The Mitsubishi radial engine disintegrates. A fireball erupts, engulfing the wing. The bomber rolls violently to the right, shedding debris, streaming smoke and fire. Its wingman has to brake hard to avoid a mid-air collision. Chaos reigns again. Adair kicks the rudder, skidding the P-40 sideways, a skid maneuver to throw off the aim of anyone behind him, and fires at another Sally. His rounds punch through the thin skin of the fuselage. These bombers lack self-sealing fuel tanks. They are vulnerable, but they are still carrying thousands of pounds of high explosives. Adair is winning the tactical battle, but he is losing the mechanical one. He glances at his instrument panel. The needle on the coolant temperature gauge is climbing. It passes 210 degrees Fahrenheit, then 220. The Allison V1710 is a liquid-cooled engine. It needs a constant flow of coolant to keep from melting itself down. Adair has been running at full combat power for 11 minutes straight. The system is designed for bursts, not sustained abuse. 230 degrees. If it hits 250, the engine will seize, the pistons will expand until they weld themselves to the cylinder walls, the propeller will stop. And Philip Adair will become a glider pilot in a sky full of sharks. He has 3 options. Option 1, reduce power. Let the engine cool, but that means slowing down, and slowing down means the Oscars will catch him and shred him. Option 2, abandon the attack, dive away, head for home. He has done enough. He has disrupted them twice. Option 3, keep fighting, keep the throttle pinned, risk the engine exploding. Adair looks at the bombers. They are 17 miles from Denjan. They are still a threat. He keeps the throttle forward. 2 Oscars commit to a head-on pass. This is a game of chicken played at a closing speed of over 600 miles per hour. Adair sees the muzzle flashes from their cowlings. 7.7mm rounds zip past his canopy, tracing lines of smoke in the air. He doesn't flinch. He trusts his heavy .50 cows. They have better range. They hit harder. At 500 yards, he fires. At 350 yards, his rounds connect. He sees the impact on the left Oscar's engine cowling. Pieces of metal fly off. The Japanese fighter shudders violently and breaks left, trailing a white plume of coolant vapor. Adair has wounded it. He rolls right and dives again, but now the dashboard is screaming a warning. Coolant temperature, 240 degrees. He is pushing the machine beyond its breaking point. The bombers are 15 miles out. 2 formations have reformed. A third is scattered. Adair sets his jaw. He goes for the lead formation again. 6 Oscars try to intercept. He dives past them at 390 mph. They are buzzing around him like angry wasps, but he is a charging bull. He levels out and fires on the lead sally. The burst hits the wing root, the structural weak point where the wing joins the body. The stress is too much. The wing folds upward like a piece of paper and tears away. The bomber rolls inverted and enters a flat spin. There are no parachutes. The formation breaks for the 3rd time. The bombers scatter in 3 different directions. Their cohesion is gone. Their accuracy is destroyed. Even if they drop their bombs now, they will fall harmlessly into the jungle miles away from the airfield. Adair pulls up hard, his chest heaving. He has done it. He has broken the raid. But the price is due. Bang! The engine shudders. A vibration runs through the control stick, shaking his arm. Detonation, pre-ignition. The fuel is exploding in the cylinders before the spark plugs even fire because the metal is so hot. 248 degrees. And then he makes a mistake. Just a split second of target fixation. 8 Oscars dive on him from above. He sees them too late. He rolls left, but the heavy P-40 is sluggish at this speed. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The sound of bullets hitting his own plane is unmistakable. It sounds like hail on a tin roof, but infinitely louder. 7.7mm rounds stitch a line across his right wing. Fabric tears, aluminum buckles. One lucky round finds the aileron control rod. The stick goes mushy in his hand. He loses the crisp response he needs to survive. Another burst walks up the fuselage. Sparks fly off the engine cowling. And then the fatal blow. A round penetrates the coolant reservoir behind the firewall. Green coolant sprays across his windscreen, blinding him for a second. The smell of hot glycol fills the cockpit. The temperature gauge spikes. 260 degrees. Steam erupts from the cowling seams. The oil pressure needle drops like a stone. The Allison engine is dying. Adair chops the throttle, trying to save it. The RPMs drop. The roar fades to a rough, coughing sputter. But without power, the P-40 is just 5 tons of dead weight. He starts to descend. 1,000 feet per minute, 1,500 feet per minute. He looks up. The Oscars are circling above him like vultures. They know he is hit. They are waiting for the kill. And then the nightmare gets worse. Flames lick out from the engine cowling. Fire. The most terrifying word in aviation. Fire in a liquid-cooled aircraft engine. follows a terrifyingly predictable sequence. First, the leaking coolant hits the hot exhaust manifold. It vaporizes instantly and ignites. Then, the flames are caught by the slipstream, the 300-mile-per-hour wind rushing over the nose, and they are dragged backward, licking along the engine cowling. If the fire melts through the aluminum skin and reaches the fuel lines running along the left side of the fuselage, the aircraft doesn't just burn, it disintegrates. Philip Adair has perhaps 30 seconds before he turns into a falling star. Standard procedure is clear. Shut down the engine immediately, slide the canopy back, unbuckle, jump. But Adair looks down. He is at 8,000 feet, descending rapidly over dense jungle. This is hostile territory. Japanese patrols are everywhere. If he bails out now, he either dies in the trees or ends up in a POW camp. A fate often worse than death in this theatre of war. He makes a choice that defies survival instinct. He stays in the burning plane. He reaches for the mixture control lever with a trembling hand. The Allison engine allows the pilot to manually control the fuel-to-air ratio. Adair pulls the lever all the way back to idle cutoff. He is starving the engine. He is cutting off its food. For 3 heart-stopping seconds, the propeller windmills in silence. The roar of the engine vanishes, replaced only by the whistling of the wind. The flames, deprived of fuel and pressure, begin to die down. The fire shrinks. Adair pushes the mixture lever forward again. Cough, sputter, roar. The engine catches. It sounds horrible, like a bag of hammers being shaken inside a metal drum. It is running rough, vibrating so hard his teeth rattle, but it is running. He checks the power output. It has dropped to 60%. It is barely enough to maintain level flight, let alone climb. He is trapped in a limping, smoking wreck, miles from home. Behind him, the Oscars are still there. They have stopped firing. Why waste ammunition on a dead man? They settle into a loose formation above and behind him, watching. They are curious. They want to see the crash. Adair turns southwest, aiming for his base at Nguli, 43 miles away. In a healthy plane, that's a 10-minute flight. In this condition, it is an eternity. At 7,000 feet, the oil pressure gauge finally gives up the ghost. The needle drops to 0. The Allison engine relies on a thin film of oil to keep its massive metal components from grinding each other to dust. Without oil pressure, friction takes over, heat builds, metal expands. It is a countdown. The connecting rods inside the engine are moments away from seizing solid. Adair's airspeed bleeds off. 120 mph. The P-40's stall speed, the speed at which the wings stop generating lift and the plane falls out of the sky, is around 120 mph. The margin for error is vanishing. One of the Japanese Oscars gets bored. The pilot dives down, pulling alongside Adair's right wing. He is close. Shockingly close. Adair can turn his head and see the enemy pilot's face through the glass. The Japanese pilot doesn't shoot. He looks at the smoking, battered American plane, and then he raises a gloved hand. He gestures downward. Land. It is a strange moment of chivalry, or perhaps arrogance. Surrender. Put it down in the jungle. Become a prisoner, and you might live. Adair looks at him. He ignores the gesture. He keeps his hands on the throttle and stick. He isn't going to land. He is going to fly this thing until the wings fall off. The Japanese pilot shakes his head, peels off, and climbs back up to rejoin his squad. They will wait for gravity to finish the job. And gravity is about to get a lot of help. Smoke begins to fill the cockpit. Not the acrid black smoke of the engine fire this time, but a thin, stinging grey smoke from behind the instrument panel. The Japanese bullets have severed the electrical wiring. Insulation is smouldering. Adair's eyes burn. His throat constricts. He slides the canopy open, desperate for fresh air. The wind blast hits him in the face, clearing the smoke slightly, but the slipstream makes it hard to breathe. Then, at 4,000 feet, the final structural failure happens. Snap. The sound is like a whip crack. The control stick goes limp in his right hand. The bullet that had grazed the aileron control rod earlier has finally done its work. The cable snaps. The right aileron, the flap on the wing that controls rolling, flops down to full deflection. Aerodynamics takes over instantly. The right aileron forces the right wing down. The P-40 rolls violently to the right. The nose drops. Adair hauls back on the stick with both hands, trying to pull the nose up. Nothing. The elevator cables are shredded. He has no pitch control. The plane enters a spiral dive. 200 mph, 220, 250. The jungle floor rushes up at him. Green canopy filling the windscreen. This is it. This is the crash. 3,000 feet, 2,500 feet, 2,000 feet. He fights the stick, but it's useless. The plane is locked into a death spiral. The damaged surfaces are physically forcing the aircraft into the ground. There is no way to fight the air pressure, unless you reverse the air pressure. In that split second, staring death in the face, a memory flashes through Philip Adair's mind. A diagram on a chalkboard, a bored instructor's voice droning on about aerodynamics. Control surfaces rely on airflow direction relative to the wing. Adair's brain, operating on pure adrenaline, processes the geometry of his death. The damaged aileron is forcing the right wing down. The jammed elevator is forcing the tail up, pushing the nose down. Gravity and aerodynamics are conspiring to pull him into the earth. But what if he changes the orientation of the plane? If he rolls the aircraft completely upside down, the damaged aileron will still push the wing down relative to the plane, but since the plane is inverted, that force will push the wing up towards the sky. The jammed elevator will still push the tail up relative to the plane, but inverted, that means the tail goes down towards the earth and the nose will go up. Flying upside down reverses the effect of the damage. The very forces killing him right side up could save him upside down. It is a theory. It is a desperate, insane theory. And he has about 4 seconds to test it. At 1,800 feet above the trees, Adair throws the stick hard over. He forces the P-40 to roll completely inverted. The world flips. The jungle is now above his head. The sky is below his feet, and immediately his body screams in protest. -1 G. Usually gravity pulls you into your seat. Now it tries to throw him out of it. His shoulder straps bite into his collarbones. His feet dangle off the rudder pedals. Blood rushes from his legs straight into his head. His face feels like it's exploding. His vision turns red at the edges, the telltale sign of readout, where blood pressure in the eyes becomes critical. But he looks at the altimeter. The descent has stopped. The nose is rising. The airspeed is stabilizing. Lulu Bell is flying. She is ugly, she is broken, she is upside down, but she is flying. At 1,200 feet, he levels out. He is cruising at 140 mph, hanging from his straps like a bat. But physics isn't done with him yet. The P-40 was not designed for sustained, inverted flight. the fuel pumps rely on gravity and positive pressure to feed the engine. Inverted, the fuel sloshes away from the intake lines. The engine coughs. Put, put, put. It's starving again. Adair curses. If the engine dies now, he glides into the trees inverted, a guaranteed death. He has to feed the engine. He rolls the plane right side up. Immediately, the damaged controls take over. The nose drops. The plane starts to dive again. A 600 feet per minute descent. He watches the altimeter unwind. He lets it drop 300 feet, letting gravity feed fuel into the engine. The Allison roars back to life, drinking the gas. Then, before he crashes, he rolls inverted again. Flip. Hang in the straps. Blood to the head. Climb slowly. 50 feet per minute. Wait for the engine to cough. Flip. Right side up. Dive. Feed the engine. Flip. It is a torture cycle, up and down. Positive G's, negative G's. Blood rushing in, blood rushing out. It is physically exhausting and mentally draining, but it is working. He is clawing his way back to base, one roll at a time. Above him, the 6 Japanese pilots watch in disbelief. They have seen brave pilots. They have seen skilled pilots. They have never seen this. Below them, the American plane is performing a grotesque, drunken dance. It flips upside down, flies for 40 seconds, flips upright, dives, and flips again. It looks like a wounded animal refusing to die. One Oscar dives down to investigate. Is he taunting them? Is it a trap? Adair sees him coming. He is currently inverted. He waits until the Oscar commits, then rolls upright, turning directly into the Japanese fighter. It is a bluff. He has no control to fight, but the aggression shocks the Japanese pilot. The Oscar breaks away. The Japanese flight leader makes a decision. The American is insane. His plane is burning. He is flying upside down. He is clearly doomed. There is no honor in shooting a corpse. The Oscars turn east, heading back to Burma. They leave Philip Adair alone with his impossible machine. Now, the silence returns, just the rough, grinding vibration of the dying engine and the rush of wind. Adair continues his rolling climb. His fuel gauge reads 83 gallons. His oil pressure is still 0. By all laws of mechanics, the engine should have welded itself into a solid block of metal 10 minutes ago. It is running on friction, momentum, and miracles. He reaches 3,000 feet, then 4,000. But a new enemy is creeping into the cockpit. An invisible one. Carbon monoxide. The exhaust manifold is cracked. The firewall is punctured. Exhaust fumes are being sucked directly into the cockpit. Adair has been breathing them for 14 minutes. CO poisoning is insidious. You don't feel like you're suffocating. You feel tired. Your thinking gets fuzzy. Your vision starts to narrow, like looking through a long, dark tunnel. Adair shakes his head, trying to clear the fog. His hands are numb. He can't feel his feet on the pedals. Ahead of him, through the haze, he sees it. The most beautiful sight in the world. WW Airfield. The runway. The tower. The revetments. Safety. He is 5 miles out. He is at 5,000 feet. He has made it. Or so he thinks. Because as he approaches the airfield, staring at the runway through his tunnel vision, a realization hits him cold. A problem he hasn't thought about in the chaos of the fight. He is flying a plane with a hydraulic landing gear system. The hydraulics are powered by the engine. The engine is producing almost no power, and the hydraulic lines have been shot full of holes. If he tries to land with the gear up, a belly landing, the friction will spark the fuel leaking from his tanks. Lulu Bell will turn into a fireball the moment she touches the concrete. He needs the wheels down. He reaches for the landing gear lever with a hand that feels like it belongs to someone else. He pulls it down. Nothing happens. No clunk. No green light. The hydraulic pressure gauge reads 0. The pump is dead. The wheels are locked in the wings. He is 5 miles from home, flying a burning plane upside down, poisoning his own blood with exhaust fumes, and now he cannot land. Philip Adair is running out of time, altitude and brain cells. The P-40 has a backup system for the landing gear, a manual hand pump located on the left side of the cockpit. It is a primitive, fail-safe mechanism designed for exactly this situation. But there is a catch. To lower the heavy landing gear, you have to pump the handle 28 times. It requires significant force. It requires both hands. Adair looks at the control stick. If he takes his hand off the stick to pump, the damaged aileron will instantly flip the plane, and the broken elevator will send it into a dive. He cannot let go of the controls, but he cannot land without the gear. It is a deadlock. His mind, sluggish from the carbon monoxide, gropes for a solution. He needs a third hand. He doesn't have one, but he has a seatbelt. Adair reaches behind his seat. He unbuckles his lap belt, the only thing keeping him attached to the aircraft. He wraps the heavy canvas strap around the control stick, pulling it tight, and loops it through the seat frame. He pulls it until the tension holds the stick in an approximate neutral position. It is a crude makeshift autopilot. It won't fly the plane well, but it might keep it straight enough for a few seconds. He takes a deep breath of the smoky air. He grabs the pump handle with both hands, and he pumps. 1, 2, 3. Nothing happens. The hydraulic fluid is thick. The resistance is immense. 5, 10, 15. His arms are burning. His lungs are screaming for oxygen. Every stroke is a battle against exhaustion. The plane wobbles, fighting the restraint of the seatbelt, drifting left and right. Adair corrects with his knees, with his body weight, praying the belt holds. 20. He feels resistance building, pressure in the lines. 25. Thunk! A sound from beneath the floorboards. A heavy, metallic lock engaging. The left main gear is down. 28. Thunk! The right gear follows. 3 seconds later, the green light on the dash flickers on, down and locked. But physics demands a payment. Extending the landing gear adds massive drag. The P-40 slows down instantly, like hitting a wall of water. Airspeed drops from 160 to 135 miles per hour. The engine, now producing barely 40% power, cannot overcome this drag. The plane begins to sink faster. Naguli runway is 7 miles ahead, 3 minutes away. Adair's vision is now fully tunneled. The grey edges have closed in until he is looking at the world through a straw. He shakes his head violently, trying to wake up. He glances at the one gauge that still works, the engine temperature. It reads 310 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 100 degrees past the red line. The metal inside the engine is no longer just hot. It is plastic. It is expanding, warping, preparing to seize. 5 miles out. The tower operators at Naguli spot him. They see a P-40 trailing black smoke, flying erratically, gear down, approaching the field. They grab their microphones. Clear the runway. Emergency aircraft inbound. They assume he will make a standard approach. Lower the flaps, reduce speed, touch down at 90 mph. But Adair has no flaps. The flaps are hydraulic too, and he doesn't have the strength or the pressure to pump them down. Landing without flaps means landing fast, 120 mph tempo. It means he needs 3,000 feet of runway to stop. Nguli is only 4,000 feet long. If he overshoots, he hits the jungle at the end, 2 miles from the runway. Silence. The propeller stops spinning, the blades jerk to a halt and stand still against the wind. The engine has finally died. It didn't seize, it simply ran out of power. The fuel, the spark, or the compression. Something gave up. The P-40 is now a glider, and a P-40 with its gear down, holes in its wings, and a dead engine has the glide characteristics of a brick. Adair calculates the angle. The glide ratio is maybe 6:1. For every foot he goes forward, he drops a foot. He looks at the runway. He looks at his altitude. He isn't going to make it. He is going to crash short, 200 yards into the trees, after fighting 64 planes, after surviving the fire, after the inverted flight, after the hand pump. He is going to die 2 miles from safety because of drag. Then, the memory returns, the same lecture, the same aerodynamics. Inverted flight reverses the lift vector, but at certain angles of attack, an inverted profile creates less induced drag. It is insane, it is suicidal to glide a dead plane to upside down. Adair is past the point of fear. He is operating on instinct. At 1,800 feet, 1 mile from the runway, he rolls the P-40 inverted again. Blood rushes back to his head. His vision clears slightly. He hangs in the straps, watching the jungle pass above him. The airspeed holds steady at 125 mph, but the descent rate, it slows. Instead of dropping at 700 feet per minute, he's dropping at 500. The inverted wing profile is slicing through the air more cleanly than the damaged upright wing. He is extending his glide. He is stretching the distance. On the ground, Technical Sergeant Robert Martinez is watching through binoculars. He sees an aircraft approaching the field upside down, with its landing gear sticking up into the air like a dead bug. "That's not one of ours," Martinez yells. "That's a Japanese trick. He's going to strafe us." Martinez runs to a .50 caliber machine gun pit. 3 other crew members join him. They rack the bolt. They traverse the heavy gun, aiming it at the approaching plane. Adair is now at 400 feet, half a mile out. He is staring down the barrel of friendly fire, though he doesn't know it. He has to time this perfectly. If he rolls upright too soon, the drag returns and he crashes short. If he rolls too late, he hits the ground while still upside down, crushing his own skull. 200 feet. 300 yards from the threshold. Martinez's finger tightens on the trigger. He sees the smoke. He sees the damage. He hesitates. "Don't shoot." In the cockpit, Adair counts down. 3, 2, 1. He kicks the rudder and throws the stick. The P-40 snaps upright. Gravity reasserts itself. The damaged aileron immediately slams the right wing down. Adair fights it with everything he has left, crossing controls, forcing the wings level. The nose drops like a stone. He pulls back on the stick. The frayed elevator cables stretch, groan, and finally bite. The nose comes up. Just enough. 90 feet. The runway rushes up to meet him. Crunch! The P-40 slams onto the concrete. It is a 7G impact. The gear struts compress fully, bottoming out. The tailwheel smashes down, screaming as metal grinds on stone. The right main gear, weakened by the hard landing, collapses. The right wing drops and digs into the runway. The aircraft ground loops violently to the right, spinning 180 degrees in a cloud of sparks and concrete dust. It skids backward for 200 feet, screeching like a banshee, before finally coming to a rest. Silence returns to Nguli Airfield. Fire crews race across the tarmac, foam hoses ready. Martinez is the first to reach the cockpit. He jumps onto the wing, ready to pull the pilot out. He finds Philip Adair sitting motionless. Adair's mask is off. His face is pale, slick with sweat and soot. He sits there for 12 seconds, just breathing. Then he unbuckles his harness. He tries to stand up. His legs buckle instantly. He falls against the canopy frame. Martinez grabs him, hauling him out of the wreck. "I'm okay," Adair mumbles, his voice slurred from the carbon monoxide. "I'm okay." They walk around the aircraft together. What they see silences the entire ground crew. Lulu Bell is a sieve. 16 bullet holes in the fuselage, 7 in the right wing, 4 in the left. The right aileron cable, severed completely. The hydraulic reservoir, punctured. The electrical loom, cut in half. But the real horror story is under the cowling. When the mechanics pry the engine covers off, they gasp. The Allison V-1710 is destroyed. It is a fused lump of metal. Every cylinder is scored. 3 connecting rods have welded themselves to the crankshaft. The oil pan is ruptured. By all rights, this engine should have exploded 20 minutes ago. It defied thermodynamics. It kept running because Philip Adair refused to let it stop. The next day, the intelligence reports came in. The raid on Denjan Airfield was a total failure. All 24 Japanese bombers had turned back. They had jettisoned their bombs miles away in the jungle to gain speed for their escape. 0 bombs hit the airfield. 0 transport planes were destroyed. 0 casualties on the ground. The hump airlift continued without a single hour of interruption, and the cost for the Japanese, the disruption of a massive raid, purely because of the ferocity of one man. On January the 8th, 1944, Lieutenant General Joseph Stilwell presented Philip Adair with the Silver Star. The citation read, in part, "For gallantry in action, engaging and disrupting a formation of 64 enemy aircraft, continuing his attack despite severe aircraft damage, thereby preventing destruction of critical supply facilities." Adair didn't go home, he stayed. He flew 95 more combat missions. He became an ace, shooting down 5 enemy aircraft. He survived the war, serving his country for 30 more years. But the legend of December 13th lived on. Military historians analyze battles with maps and arrows. They talk about tactics, logistics, and superior firepower. But sometimes history isn't decided by the generals. Sometimes it is decided by a single 23-year-old kid, alone in a burning plane, who simply decides that impossible is just a word. Philip Adair proved that when the odds are 64-1, you don't count the enemy, you make the enemy count you. Lulu Bell never flew again. She was scrapped for parts, her metal body too broken to repair. But her spirit, and the spirit of the Burma Banshees, is something that should never be forgotten. If this story of impossible survival amazed you, please hit that like button. It helps us share these forgotten heroes with the world. And if you want more incredible stories from the cockpits of history, subscribe and turn on notifications. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.